members and other meetings that are coming in shortly. Minutes to ask questions today to expedite some of the things that we have to deal with today. Since we need a quorum and there's another meeting going on, so we're going to revert a moment to the director and the chief and the assistant director. We're going to revert to our regular, we're going to go back, to the presentations of the various commissions until another member comes in so we can then start that. So we're going to ask you to step aside a moment. Also, as you recall, last week we went from 10 o'clock to 4. So we will break for lunch today because it's not fair for the members nor you folks at the table and for our guests that are here. So we will break somewhere around noon, I'm assuming right now. We'll know for sure. And then about a half an hour for lunch. We took, I think it was 35 minutes last week, but I found out a lot of people needed to make phone calls, do emails. Again, you folks have to do things. So at this point, right now, I'm going to ask for the, let me get back to my schedule here. Where are we? Okay. I'm going to ask for the Office of Prevention, Intervention, and Opportunities to come forward. If they are here, are they here? Are they here? Is PIO here? Okay, I know there's some other meetings going on. Again, Director and Chief, as soon as we have another member, we will jump right in when they come out of these other meetings. Okay. Okay, Community Police Commission, CPC is up first. Come on up. Again, I thank you for being here today for your operational review before Cleveland City Council. Would you introduce yourselves at the table?
Good morning. My name is
Pull the mic right close to you. Okay.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Sharina Zayed, co-chair of the Cleveland Community Police Commission.
Thank you.
Good morning. Executive Director, Interim Executive Director Jason Goodrick, Police
Thank
Commission.
You. Okay. Tell us about yourself. Do you have a PowerPoint?
Yes,
we do. Thank you.
Okay, so this is our agenda. We're going to go over an overview of the commission and our responsibilities, our 2024 achievements, our staffing levels and vacancies, and what our top priorities are moving into 2025.
Okay.
Okay, so about the CPC, so the Cleveland Community Police Commission, its purpose is to bring community voices into police reform.
Yes.
And the commission is comprised of 13 members that represent a broad spectrum of life experiences and subject matter expertise. Our duties are given to us by Charter Section 115.5, and they include discipline review authority, which is final authority on police officer discipline and power to increase or impose discipline following a review, reduction of discipline in cases of retaliation, candidate recommendation. We have subpoena power. We have final authority over recruitment policies and bias screening for new police recruits. We conduct bias screenings and trainings for officers and have authority to establish bias screenings and trainings for current officers. We hold final authority over police policies, procedures, and trainings. We conduct training audits and verify police officer training. Disclosure oversight, which manages a Brady-Giglio disclosure list and ensures public accessibility of pertinent police records. We conduct independent investigation directives, so orders Civilian Police Review Board to investigate officers with pending or settled lawsuits for misconduct. Continuing our list of responsibilities and duties, we have to conduct community outreach, and we conduct this outreach to gather perspectives on police community relations and accountability. We oversee community collaboration. We get feedback and provisions and provide community feedback to various city police accountability entities. We ensure duties and performances are free from interference with disciplinary measures, and this involves that for violators as well, as far as independent judgment. So we have a broad list of responsibilities that we have to oversee, and we will also have responsibilities and duties given to us by the consent decree, which we have included in these handouts. These are paragraphs 14 through 22 of the consent decree. And we also have the responsibility, which you guys know, of giving out our community grants in the areas of violence prevention,
Right.
mediation, and restorative justice. And we just wanted to take time to thank you all for assisting us with obtaining a grants administrator with the United Black Fund. That collaboration was very helpful, and we look forward to giving those grants out this year and next year.
Okay.
Okay, so we're moving on to our 2024 achievements. Prior to popular belief, we have accomplished something in 2024. 2023 was more focused on training and rulemaking. 2024, we're going into our duties listed in the charter and things and responsibilities we have to do in the consent decree. So in 2024, we have approved 13 policies. We have 14 policies pending. We have 18 trainings that have been approved, and we have 6 trainings currently pending. We have held 11 full committee meetings. That has decreased from 2023 solely because in 2023 we decided to have 2 full commission meetings for the first 6 months just to help us establish those rules that we had to get in place. We've had 3 special events this year. We've had 4 discipline reviews, and we have 1 case pending. We have not heard any cases yet because we're still going through the process of developing our hearing procedures.
Okay. The documents, Ms. Zayed, that you're reading off, I would request a copy of those.
It's the same thing.
Well, your first document, because you read off when your CPC overview, you read substantial information, but it's not on here.
It should be in the notes of the PowerPoint.
It should be? Hold on, let me see.
On the notes page.
On the notes page,
What do you
okay.
mean?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
then we'll look, thank you.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. Okay, so we decided to include an update on our grants process, since you guys have worked closely with us on that. So in 2023, the commission ran the grants process. We awarded 26 organizations with giving out the full disbursement of $1,080,000. So far, we have dispersed $263,000 to 12 organizations, and 2 are fully completed. As of today, we are currently working with the United Black Fund, and our grant cycle is open, and it closes on November the 8th. So if you all know any organizations that you work with in your communities who would benefit from this program, please encourage them to apply.
Just go back a moment. So you have 26 awards, $1,080,000. You dispersed $263,000 to 12 organizations. Explain the 2 completed. I'm not clear at that.
Well, that means they received their full award. So 10 of those organizations have not received their full award. They probably more likely received partial payment.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Keep going.
Okay, so we hope to begin Can you go back a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So we hope to begin the next grant cycle of 2025 in the spring of 2025, and we believe that this will allow us to give greater award amounts, and that will allow us to include city council in the process.
Okay.
And going forward, spring will be the normal time for grants to
Okay.
open. Okay, so this is our organizational chart.
Yes.
With the commission at the top. We have an interim executive director. We have a spot open for assistant director of law. We have a vacancy for an assistant director and also now an administrative assistant. And we also have 3 project coordinators.
So you have how many vacancies right now?
2.
2? Okay.
Well,
Okay.
technically 3, the lawyer.
Mr. Adams, would you introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Sean Adams, co-chair of the commission. I think currently we have 2 vacancies, but technically 3 with the attorney that we lost, but that is being filled as we
Okay.
speak.
Thank you. Continue.
Okay. So this is just, okay. So we're going on to our 2025 priorities.
Yes.
So one of our highest priorities as of right now is our onboarding process. We currently have, are going to have 9 vacancies on the commission due to resignations and term expirations. So we are going to conduct a retreat for the oncoming commissioners that includes conflict management and team building trainings.
Yes.
We're also going to be working with the City of Cleveland and CPD to conduct further trainings. We really are going to take a big push to finalize our hearing process and procedures and begin hearing cases. We're going to be adjusting our grant cycle to the spring of 2025, as I suggested earlier. We're going to begin collecting information from our previous grantees so we can begin reporting that grant data and the outcomes of that those awards we gave away. We're going to be we plan to eliminate our policy backlog. We still have those, how many did I name? We still have those 14 policies pending. So we're going to be working really hard to eliminate that backlog.
Okay.
Consent decree, that's one of our highest priorities, is becoming in compliance with the consent decree. So we have 2 huge projects we're going to be working on in 2025, which is the bias-free policing and our community engagement assessment, and also working with other organizations or entities in the city to conduct our CPOP work.
Okay.
We plan to finalize the hiring process for our permanent ED position, and we plan to fill all vacancies within our staff. We also hope to figure out a way to obtain direct records access. We just came from a national, what is it?
Civilian oversight.
Yeah, National Civilian Oversight
microphone.
Conference, where there are other entities within the nation that don't even have our authority or responsibilities, but they have direct access to records, would eliminate a lot of the issues with the backlog. And we also want to increase community outreach.
Okay. That's it?
Yep.
Okay, questions. Of the 13 members, are there any vacancies of the 13 at this point, of the board members?
To the chair, currently there are no vacancies. We have 6 appointments that are expiring in December, I think the first week in December, maybe the second week. And then we have 3 commissioners that resigned. So we have a total of 9 vacancies as of December. But I was on the interview panel for the new commissioners, and I know that we finished that work earlier this month, and that the recommendations from that 5-person panel were sent over to the mayor sometime the middle of the month. And so we're at the point where we are waiting for the mayor to announce his nominations for those 9 vacancies. So there were 4 commissioners who reapplied, who were up for reappointments, and
Okay,
Two
so,
were interviewed.
so 9 are up, 9 positions are up for appointment. 4 of the existing 9 reapplied.
Correct.
Okay. And how did one apply to be on the commission? What was
There-
the mechanism?
There was just an application that was put together by the city. I think it was led by Chief Ethics Officer Delonte Spencer Thomas. So there was an application, and then once the applications were received, we went through the applications, and then we selected candidates for interviews, and then we interviewed them and deliberated and made recommendations to the mayor.
And how many applied, do you know?
I think there were around 50 applications this time
About 50?
for 9 spots.
So estimated 50 applied.
Approximately, yeah.
Estimated 50 applied. Okay. As I've indicated at this table, and I've indicated to both Mr. Adams and Ms. Said, and to the acting director, there are many of us in the council did not support issue 24, now chapter 115, but it was voted upon by the people. So we're here to make it work to the best of our ability, working with you. That's why we took the action with the United Black Fund as we did, to, as it pertains to your grant oversight responsibility. So again, we're here to work with folks. I have a couple concerns that have been expressed to me, and so I'm going to bring them up to you right now. And I'd like to get a response here. We have, let me find them here. According to CPD, they have sent to you for you to vet and make recommendations, commanders for the 1st District, the 4th District, and the Special Services Unit. And then also, you also have in your possession the GPO for the drones. And can someone explain to me where that is at in your vetting process?
So, to the chair, so what I know that for the commanders, I know that we had every intention on giving those recommendations, but we ran into sort of some legal trouble where we realized that, like I can even speak for myself, that there were applications that I reviewed, and then I realized after we kind of did a little bit more digging that we did not receive all of the records that we needed to review those candidates. And so we are at a point where while we've been successful in getting most of the records requests that we have requested from the city, we have not received full disciplinary records. So one of the areas where we have not been able to have success, but it's critical, is that we do not have full disciplinary records from the CDP. And so
who did you
we
make that
received
who did you make that
we make the
request to?
request to the chief and to the safety director. But we have not received those because we have been told that our movement from public safety to an independent organization after Charter 24, we've been told that we are not considered to be like a law enforcement agency anymore. And so we've been denied access to records. And so the commission's position is that until we receive full records, we don't feel like we should make recommendations for officers because we've already received complaints from civilians about some of the candidates for those positions. And I think that currently there are officers that, we feel that we need to get more information on. So we haven't been able to make those recommendations because we don't have the full files for that.
Okay, then there has to be some resolution here. We have 3 commanders that are in limbo. And so is the safety director in attendance? Because I know he stepped out for a month. Safety director, Drummond, safety director. Is the chief still here?
No, she had something else going on.
Okay, but she'll be coming back, I'm assuming, is correct? Director, I just raised the issue, which is of concern to us at the table, with regard to the recommendations that you sent over to the CPC for the 1st District Commander, 4th District Commander, and Special Services Unit. Mr. Adams has indicated that they have not received the information that they have requested.
To the chair, I'm not quite sure which information they're referring to. I believe it's probably best answered through the PAT, Police Accountability team, and I hate to
Okay.
put them on the spot like that. I believe that the City of Cleveland provide information to the best of our abilities and so forth, and I believe that we're working really diligently to get the other information that they need to complete their process. I'm not quite sure what their process is. I know that
Okay.
part of it is making sure that they have their processes in place to take the recommendations from the City of Cleveland relative to our selections, or at least recommendations for those particular 3 positions that you just mentioned.
So I'm to ask the police accountability team when they're up for their,
Well, I don't want to, it's not the police accountability team's
okay,
fault. There's no one's fault. I'm not blaming anyone
Yes.
here. It's just that we finished, when I say we, Division of Police finished the process relative to our recommendation to
Yes.
the mayor for those positions, those 3 commanders' position that you mentioned.
Okay.
We finished that process. Then that process is to send the recommendations to the CPC for them to complete their process and make their recommendation to the mayor
Okay.
relative, again, to those 3
So,
particular positions.
but what I'm hearing is Mr. Adams is saying they don't have all the information they requested. Is that correct, sir?
To the chair, that is correct. So as far as the PAC, the Police Accountability Team is concerned, we have biweekly meetings with the Police Accountability
Yes.
Team, the Department of Justice, and the monitoring team. We have, I think, submitted a total of maybe, I think, 28, I might be off by a number or 2, but 28 full records requests to the city. We have received, fortunately, 27 of those requests, but the 28th are the full disciplinary records. And we already have information from civilians that leads us to believe that it is critical that we receive full disciplinary records for the candidates, because we already have complaints about candidates from civilians. And so the CPC feels that it would be a mistake for us to make a recommendation when we already have information from civilians that is concerning. And so we feel that we need those full records.
Well, as a result of Charter Section 115, City Council, we do not have authority to engage here, but there has to be some resolution.
Correct.
We just cannot have this ongoing.
To the chair, what we requested is, we've had meetings with the chief. We've had many conversations with the police accountability team. So what the CPC requested was understanding that it would be, the records request for the full disciplinary files is literally hundreds of thousands of files that the CDP would have to give to the CPC. And so in sort of a compromise, we thought that maybe we could just get access, because what we learned from being at the NACO conference, which is the National
Yes.
Oversight Conference, is that there are other oversight bodies who do not have as much authority as the CPC, who do have access to full records. And I know that even the Civilian Police Review Board, they have access to databases that we don't have access to. And so we've been trying to get access,
Okay.
but we've been told that because we are no longer under public safety, that we are not a law enforcement body anymore, and that we cannot get access. And so that's sort of where
Okay.
we are right now.
Well, I'm going to raise the issue now officially. We will continue to raise it. We cannot have, again, the 1st District Commander, the 4th District Commander, and the Special Services Commander just in limbo. There has to be some resolution. Has to be some resolution here. So I'm saying that not only to the CPC, but I'm saying to the city administration as well. What's your comments about the general police order about the drones? Whoever can answer and identify yourself again for the viewing public.
Jason Goodrick, Interim
Yeah.
Executive Director. To the chair, we received the drone policy on 10/10, so we've had it less than 30 days.
Okay.
And it has become our top priority. Chair Van Leer, who chairs the policy committee, has already started working with the division, having regular weekly
Okay.
meetings to work through that policy. We moved it right to the top of that backlog list, recognizing that it's been a topic at this table.
Right.
But I want to make it clear, we just received it on 10/10.
10/10.
So, the expectation is that we will have it done as quickly as possible. I don't think it will from first glance, it looks like there's probably 95% agreement on the draft as is. There's just a few things that they're discussing with the division to entertain for some tweaks, but it shouldn't be a problem to operationalize that by the end of the year here and get those things up in the air.
Just so you're aware, we passed that legislation over 2 years ago. This council ran with it. We passed the legislation over 2 years ago. We believe with the implementation of drones, it would greatly impact and have a positive impact on the pursuits, some of these deadly pursuits and issues that have come up through with the federal monitor's report and documentation. It would make our citizens create a safer environment for not only law enforcement personnel, but our citizens as well. You know that suburbs are flying drones into the city now, across our borders, without a GPO. And so I'm saying again to the CPC, I would hope that you would act, and I'm hearing that you're going to act as soon as possible on this. This is a priority of the council. We got to get those drones. We got 10 of them. They're sitting in an office across the hall, and that's just not acceptable to us. We want them up. We want them implemented. So, okay. Questions of the committee. As I've indicated, I'm going to hold everybody to 10 minutes, and so floor is open for questions. Yes, Councilman Slife.
Just a quick follow-up question to the line of questioning about the receipt of information requested. Could you just characterize, if you're able, to, like, what you've heard from the administration as to why the information can't be provided?
To the councilman through the chair, are you talking specifically about the full disciplinary record?
The full disciplinary records.
Yes.
Or, I mean, any records. Other issues
I guess
with
the
records.
holdup has been the records are kept in a system called IA Pro. And so we, like I said, we are not allowed access to that database system. And so we were able to meet with the chief earlier this year, and what we did was she was able to pull up the IA Pro system, and she showed us with her command staff sort of like all of the files that are kept in that system. But it's literally a system, from my understanding, where they would have to take like every page and sort of like page by page. It's not like you press a button and you can download a full file and then you can just upload a full file. It's like they have to physically go through every separate page. And so they did not feel that they had the capacity to do that for the full records request. And so that's sort of been a holdup. One of the compromises we came up with is that there's sort of like, for lack of a better term, like a landing page where you can sort of see like a table of contents of everything that's in each individual file. And so what they've been able to do for us is provide us like a table of contents, but it doesn't give us the actual file. So if we could look at a table of contents, we could say we want file A, file B, file C, and then they would be willing to fill that request. But it just doesn't really solve the actual problem, which is that the CPC needs full access to the records. And so we've been trying to figure out how to get that access.
Okay, so that sounds, through the chair, is it more of an administrative hurdle than a full legal hurdle? Would that be a fair way to characterize it?
Yeah, I think we're in agreement that we want to get the files, and I think that they want to get them to us, but I don't think they have the capacity to give us all of the files with the system that they have in place at the moment.
Okay. And to the chair, kind of the origin of my line of questioning honestly dates back to our conversations about the brevity reports and trying to understand when is it the case that it's difficult to provide information. Difficult doesn't mean impossible. Sometimes you just have to do hard things, but then there have been instances certainly where it's been the position of the administration that information that this body feels is pertinent, perhaps other bodies feel are pertinent, are told that information can't be provided. And I will just say, this is me speaking personally, there's an analogy to federal security clearances. I'm not saying that everybody has a need-to-know basis, but I think that there's if this is tied to the work of a body, I don't think it's logical to just suggest that information can universally be withheld. Additionally, my understanding is that anybody, say you're in the custodial staff of the 1st District, that you have to go through training to understand you may be exposed to sensitive information. Here are your responsibilities when you're exposed to sensitive information. And I haven't heard to date the administration offering that as sort of a compromise to help allow, whether it's us or others, to be able to receive documentation, receive more in-depth briefings. So I just raise it as I worry that this is sort of an ongoing issue and that we're going to kind of keep coming back to it from different angles. So that's why I was interested in understanding the administrative versus the legal side. And then it sounds, if it's, I'm done, but if Mr. Goodrick would like to chime in, and then I'm probably...
And I will, because I have a little bit more insight into the records request process too. So first I want to clarify, the division has provided us records that we have requested, and the PAT team has been wonderful in facilitating those requests. There was a legal doctrine presented to the state of Ohio on can we look at CJIS information and leads information, same hurdles that you guys have faced on this side of the table regarding restricted access. They came back with a long wordy no legally, right? But the question is, what did you ask the state? Did you go to the state and say, how can we make this work? Or did you go to the state saying, can I do this? And I think there's a big difference there, because what we learned at NACOL is the city of Akron Police Board, Oversight Board, and their auditor has access to IA Pro. And it's the same state, same principles, and they have full unrestricted access to completed FIT files, which are the high-level investigations, right? So it can be done, and they use IA Pro similarly. Access can be granted. It's just a question of asking how we do it. The second issue was redactions. So when we talk about a full and complete discipline file for police, I think it's important to understand that there's some confusion, and this even came up in the federal court recently, right, about how far can we look back for promotions, right? I think there was a misunderstanding that was identified in the court at the last consent decree hearing about that the chief can only look back 3 years for promotions. But what the court and the DOJ said was that may not be true, that you for promotions you can look at a full career history, right? But for discipline, you can only look back 3 years. So you can't do stack discipline further back than 3 years. So there was some confusion. We only got files for those commander positions that we requested that only had a 3-year look back. And what happened was community members gave us disciplinary records that the division hadn't shared with us, that were concerning to us, that didn't come in that original records request, right? So we were put in a position where we were absent the full file. And when we talked about full files, we even did a motion, the commission did a motion to the public safety and the chief of police that to create a system where if anyone asked for a full file of a police officer going back however long they worked here, 30 years, that they were given a full and complete file. And we were told that that's not possible, that it can't be done, that it's held in too many systems. So for us, that's been an issue, is a full and complete file is important when we're doing our work to look at, especially with promotions, because community remembers stuff, right? So you all know how long community's memory is, and if they've had negative experiences with these officers, or they remember discipline happening or critical incidents, and we're talking about making them into some of the highest command positions in the city, we want to know about that. It doesn't mean that they're going to be excluded, right? Because you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. But what the commission has fought for is a right to see the full record all the way from the start of the career, and that is what we're missing when it comes to those promotions. So it has been a legal issue. At times it has been other issues. But I think the PAT is helping to move past that, and I just want to be clear, the PAT has been helpful with all records requests, so I don't want to put it out there that we're not making progress on that, because we are. We just haven't resolved the issue of access, and we haven't resolved the issue of what a full and complete disciplinary file or a full and complete just accommodations and discipline file looks like for us.
Councilman Slife?
Thank you, and I won't comment on the specifics of this issue just because I'm learning about it for the first time. But I maintain my kind of universal concern that only speaking for this side of the table, we are elected directly by representatives who expect transparency from government, and I think we could all agree that not all information can just be published out on the internet and given to everybody, but there is an expectation that there's a second set of eyes that's able to see things, and from time to time, it has been the position of the administration that there is just certain information that nobody outside of themselves is privy to, which to me is a fundamental disconnect from democratic transparency. So to me, this is a larger issue. I'm going to get off it because we could have a whole set of hearings about it.
Okay.
But thank you for providing a little bit more background on that.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Starr.
Good evening. Thank you through the chair. So just one question, just for clarification. We do currently have an executive director and leader in place through the chair?
Deputy Director, for what?
For the CPC. I
You
remember
have
they had
an
that vacancy.
acting director.
So who's the acting director? Just a clarification. So you've been an acting director for how long through the chair?
Through the chair to the council person, I've been in this position for 8 years. As of 2021, the law changed, so I became acting director because the position changed. So for the last 2 years, I've been acting, but I've been in this position for 8 years.
Through the chair, so within the words of acting, are we going to hire someone eventually? So that would probably be to the board. What is your time frame to actually hire someone or possibly remove an acting chair or person?
Who can answer that? Mr.
I
Adams?
would,
Ms.
to the
Zayed?
chair, to the councilman through the chair. So so this has been a big issue for us. So in January of 2023, we made Jason Goodrick the interim director. In April of 2023, we put a time frame on that position of, I believe it was a year or until we found someone permanent. Unfortunately, our infamous June 14th meeting, there were a majority of the commission who decided that they wanted to rescind the hiring committee, and then they decided that we wanted to push for Jason Goodrick to be the permanent executive director. That turned into July of 2023, where the mayor rejected that nomination. And so that then went on for about 6 months, where we got outside legal counsel to get a legal opinion about if the mayor had the right to reject that nomination. Did the mayor have the right to reject it, or should the mayor appoint who the commission nominates? And so that went into January. In February of 2028, we then reopened the hiring committee to do a full national search for an executive director. That motion was sent to committee. The committee did not do its work, so we passed an additional motion that allowed the co-chairs after 6 months to take over the search for the executive director. So where we are now is that we have drafted a job description, and we are working, the co-chairs are now working with HR to do a national search for an executive director. Where we are currently is that the motion that we passed in April of 2024, it put a November 1st deadline on Jason Goodrick's tenure as interim executive director. So that's kind of where we are right now, that we are at October 30th, and now Friday is November 1st, and his tenure is set to expire. And so due to, unfortunately, the disruptions that we continue to have on the commission, I'm sure you're familiar with them, we were unable to request an extension, and we were unable to settle that issue. So where we stand right now is that Friday, November 1st, that motion stands, and his term will expire on November 1st.
Thank you. Councilman
But
Starr.
we are doing a search.
Yeah, I got a little confused, and make sure I understand, Chair. So currently, in order to fulfill the interim position, what do you have to do?
We are doing conducting
chair.
a
Through the-
national,
through the
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
through the chair. We are conducting a national search. So where we are right now is that the co-chairs are working with the Human Resources Department of the city to do a national search to finally settle the issue of a permanent executive director.
All right, through the chair,
Yes.
is there a cost associated with this search?
Through the chair, yes, there's a cost. The cost is somewhere between, I think the range was anywhere between like 23,000 and like 35,000, something like that. So we have set the funds aside to ensure that we could pay for that because the firm that the city went through an RFP process where the city was able to have, the city has firms that do this type of work for searches. And so the Human Resources Department will do that search for us, and they will pay for that search, and then the CPC will use their funds to reimburse the city for it. So we hopefully that will help us to expedite it.
So,
Thank you.
and through the chair,
Councilman Starr.
through the chair, within your budget, you already had budgeted out funding to be able to do this search. Through
To
the
the
chair.
councilman through the chair, yes, we have
Okay.
the funds to do the search.
Thank you.
Now, through the chair, also within this process of selecting a director, who makes the decision on the director getting selected? What is that actual process based on the way this has been set up through the chair?
Ms. Syed, Mr. Adams?
So to the councilman through the chair. So what will happen is that we will do a national search, and what what we will do as co-chairs is we will provide some guidelines as to how many candidates we would like the firm to bring back to us. Our concern is that we know that this has been a controversial issue for us. So what we want to make sure is that we conduct a fair and impartial, unbiased process to select an executive director. And ultimately, we can only delegate so much of this authority out to an outside firm because the commission does ultimately have to vote. So this firm cannot select the person for us. They can recommend candidates for us for the commission to vote on. And so that's sort of what will happen is that
Thank you.
we will put the parameters around the firm. They will then present
got you.
candidates to us, and then we will then bring those candidates to the full commission who will then vote on who the permanent executive director will be.
Right, and through the chair, correct me if I'm not understanding. So the co-chairs can make a recommendation and hire someone pending approval through your board?
So to the
Through the chair.
councilman, through the chair, what the co-chairs can do, we passed a motion that gave us the authority to sort of take over the process after 6 months. And so that's where we are now. The committee didn't get its work done in the 6-month time frame that they were given. And so what the co-chairs can do is sort of oversee the process, but we cannot make a decision for the commission. The decision ultimately has to be made by the full 13 commissioners.
So through the chair, before you filed this motion or passed this motion, it was set forth that the commission makes the final vote on who's the chairperson is.
So
Or
to the
director.
councilman through the
Correct.
chair, so in the charter states that the full commission has to make that decision. What we did was initially the permanent executive director search was in a committee. But unfortunately, that committee did not get its work done. And so we
Who
were-
chaired that committee?
The committee, that committee didn't really have a chair. It was an ad hoc committee.
Thank you.
Didn't Adriana Rodriguez act as the chair of that committee?
She acted as chair, but technically there was no chair of that committee. And so we were in a position, I mean, you guys are a council and like you're a government body. And so you know that even as like a chair of a committee, you don't have the authority to just say, we're going to do this. You need the consent of the body to do it. And so we were not able to get the body to
Okay.
give us that
Okay.
initial authority.
you.
And so we had to give
Yeah.
them a 6-month time
Councilman
frame. So that's
Starr.
what-
Yeah, so basically, what I'm trying to get an understanding is, if the co-chairs made a recommendation for someone, did the commission or did not approve that, or were they all in support?
So to clarify
Whoever
for
can
the,
answer. Go ahead.
so to the councilman through the chair to clarify, what the co-chairs are doing is we do not have the authority to make recommendations. We have the authority to select a national firm to do a national search.
I'm with you on that.
And once that search is done, we don't get to filter out candidates. We have to determine, for example, if we tell the firm that we want them to bring us one name, or we tell the firm we want them to bring us 3 names,
Yes.
or we tell the firm we want them to bring us 5 names.
Yes.
Whatever they bring to us, we have to bring that to the full commission. So we don't
Yeah.
make recommendations
Okay.
to the full commission for the executive director. We're going to allow the firm to do that.
Thank you.
And that's what I'm trying to get clarification on. Through this process, through the firm, I know you can select the firm, but what I'm saying is when it comes down to it and you want to hire a candidate to be as the director, who makes that decision?
To the councilman through the chair, that decision will be made by the full 13.
So the full 13?
Yes.
So through the chair, when y'all made a recommendation for Mr. Jason to be potentially the director, why wasn't it completed if that's what y'all recommended through the chair?
Okay.
To the councilman through the chair, that process, that recommendation never went through a process. So there were just commissioners who decided that they wanted to make him a permanent executive director. So that was a vote that was made on the commission. But ultimately, that nomination was rejected by the mayor. And so because the charter requires the mayor to make the appointment, when the mayor rejected the appointment, we sort of had to go back to the table to figure out how to go through a process to nominate in a way that the mayor would appoint. The mayor said in his letter that we didn't go through a process, and so
Okay.
that was his point.
Thank you.
And so that's where we are now.
Thank you. Councilman, your time is up. But you want to wrap
Can
it
I
up?
just, final thought, Dean? I just have one point.
Yes.
So through this process, so are we saying the mayor can make appointments without council through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, according to the charter,
Yes.
the full commission nominates an executive director, and then the mayor has the power to appoint. And so they have to be aligned. So what happened before is that we nominated Jason Goodrick to be our permanent executive director, but the mayor rejected it.
Yes.
And then that created a legal battle over if the mayor actually had the authority to reject our nomination. And so we got an outside attorney. And so basically what the outside attorney told us is that the language of the charter is not consistent. So there's 2 parts in the charter that talk about the executive director appointment. One part of the language says that the mayor, that the commission nominates and the mayor appoints. And then the other part of the language says that the commission will nominate an executive director to be appointed by the mayor. And so because that language was not consistent, the legal opinion was that basically they said they can't decide what it says because it's not consistent. And so the recommendation from our outside attorney is for us to nominate an executive director that the mayor would actually appoint.
Okay.
And so
Council
that's what
does
we
not
are now.
have any say-so in the matter.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Starr. Excuse me, Council Gray. Excuse me.
Councilwoman Starr.
I know, that's the kind of morning I've been having. I know, right. I
Just
know.
made his day.
That's it. I know.
Okay.
I made his day.
Yes, you
Right.
did.
Right. Made my day, too.
Yes, you did, sir. That's a good one. At least we able to laugh to bring it on up. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair. I just have just one question, just to follow the CPC when they were here last time. You show here on your presentation, year of 2023, I believe that when you were here last, I just want you to confirm everything. You said 26 awards. You know, what does 26 awards mean?
Good.
On your grant update.
Whoever can answer it.
2023 said commission run, and then 26 awards.
That's
there, too.
26 grantees will receive dollar amounts from the commission.
Specific groups.
Yeah.
Specific groups, okay, so.
And do you have the list? We
Yes.
have a.
Thank you, yeah, for that
Good.
list. I couldn't find my list. And the question was, last time when we were here, even to my knowledge,
Thank you.
it was brought to my knowledge when we had a thorough conversation with you, Chair, to
Yes.
co-chair, pertaining to the organization groups that's citywide. It was requested that you said you was going to take the time to email the outcome of what the citywide organizations were doing to us, because since they're citywide, they have not reported to us any type of activity that has been done citywide, meeting in all wards.
To the council person
Yes.
through
If
the
I
chair.
misunderstood
Go ahead.
that conversation.
I would say if you can see on the list, there are a substantial amount of grantees who have not received their awards yet.
Okay.
And there are a number of grantees who are still in the process of receiving their full award. So that means they're still in the process of doing the work.
Yes.
So like if you go to our slide where it says our goals for 2025, you'll see that one of the things we listed was grant reporting. So
Okay.
because, we're still in the process of getting out those grants from 2023, we hope to finalize that reporting in 2025 to get you that information of the outcomes.
Okay, well,
Thank
thank you
you.
for the information. However, since they haven't received their grantees or their funding.
Yes.
What are they doing? Chair two, the co-chair, what are they doing? Are they sitting back, waiting for
Well-
funding, or because they're on the list now, and they were here a year ago stating stating how they were gonna, represent what they do prior to them getting any awards. So, but they're on the list. So I'm just trying to verify that since they're on the list.
Well, our role is to track, and if, John, if you have anything additional to say, you can, but I believe our role is to track and monitor the work that they agree to do for us with the amount, for their proposal for us, with the amount of money that we award to them. So if they don't have the money yet, we aren't recording what they're currently doing with other awards from other organizations or things like that. But I do keep in contact with organizations, and I know they are continuing to do work, but the specific
Yes.
proposals and projects that they're doing from us, with us, that they aren't able to execute because they haven't received the funding, they haven't started yet. So once they conclude those projects, then we'll report on the outcomes from those projects based on the money that they use with the awards that we've given. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But
To
council-
does that list their contact information? Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have listed their email address and phone numbers for council to contact these organizations directly, so that you can, like, if you have a question about an organization, you can call and ask them questions about
Yeah.
what they're currently doing with funding outside of
Thank
CPC
you.
funding.
Thank you. Council lady?
Yeah, thank you for the information. However, since they are on the list and you guys chose them to be on the list to get funding, the last conversation that we did speak of, that you will initiate, that you initiate of getting some information back. But since it was now clarified, claiming that since they have not got any funding, they're not doing any work for the CPC at all.
Right.
As of this point, correct?
Right. I mean,
That's
there-
what I'm-
to the
Through the chair.
Understanding?
Through the chair.
Through the chair, to the councilwoman, we do have some organizations that are doing some work with the CPC's money. So I know that we have organizations that have received their disbursements, and they've received maybe additional disbursements. But I think we may not have enough data yet to basically provide
Okay.
that information for you. But as they receive more of their funds and do
Okay.
more work,
Thank
we
you.
do have to get a report from them, and so we could share that with the public and share that with the council.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam
Council.
Chair, I just have a question. I just want to stay on top of this. I'm specifically asking about the citywide, not the other ones
Okay.
not the ones that have specific wards that they're working in. I'm specifically asking about citywide per se. So I see the number and the email. My question is, what have they reported to you? Have any citywide organizations been funded, and have they reported anything to the CBC? And I am requesting that you send that to me
Okay.
instead of my office doing the work that you guys are obligated to do.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking.
So you've heard
right
her
now.
request. She wants to know, on the citywide groups that have received funding, what neighborhoods, what wards are they working in?
Okay. I think that's,
Okay?
yeah.
Council lady, any other question?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Without any further questions here, because we are going to revert back to the, now that we do have a quorum, council members were able to get out of their meetings. Are there any other questions for the CPC at this point before we let them leave the table? Again, as I've indicated publicly, we are here to work with you as best as we can, the best of our ability, and hopefully your ability. I'll be less than honest if I didn't say I'm extremely disappointed with the behavior that we've all witnessed at the CPC meetings. I think it's, perception is 9/10 of reality, and if the people believe there's chaos there, then how do they expect there to be any working relationship with the mayor's office, city government, city council, division of police, Department of Public Safety? Because we're all in this thing together. We're all in this together. And so we want to have a good working relationship. That's my commitment as chair of this committee, to have a good working relationship with you. I appreciate those of you who've come over to talk to me about issues on the CPC and some of your concerns. So I don't know, just brief before I relieve you, of the 4 who've reapplied, who are the 4 who've reapplied?
The 4 commissioners, to the councilman, to the chair, the 4 commissioners who reapplied were Commissioner Zayed, Commissioner Kyle Early, Commissioner Terry Wong, and Commissioner Chandra Benito.
Okay.
Those are the 4.
And those they've reapplied to the mayor?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, without any further questions, I want to thank you for coming to the table and providing the information that you have, and we look forward to working with you on an ongoing basis.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, now that we do have an official quorum for this legislation, I would ask you to call the roll. Present. House Jones is excused. Thank you. We'll revert back to the legislation. I want to note that the administration has asked that ordinance number 11117-2024 be held until further notice. So, Madam Clerk, we will hold that. I want to get through this legislative portion as quickly as possible so we can go back to our oversight responsibilities of the various commissions, et cetera. Thank you again, Director, for your patience, members of your team for your patience. Would you introduce yourself again for the viewing public and the people who are here at the table representing the administration?
Yes, good morning, Chair and other council members. Wayne Drummond, Director of Public Safety. To my right is Assistant Director Nicole Carlton, and I'll pass the mark.
Okay.
Move to my left.
Good morning. Suzanne DeGennaro, Commissioner of Real Estate.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sergeant Mike McNeely, Cleveland Police.
Okay.
Good morning.
Can you close the door, please? Thank you.
Ali Pillow, Deputy Chief Homeland Special Operations.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, ordinance number 1114-2024 by council members Polensek and Griffin by department request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to amend lease number LS 2018-24 with Cuyahoga County for the lease of certain space located in various floors of the Justice Center to extend the term for 1 additional year beginning October 2nd, 2024, and to include additional space for the clerk of Cleveland Municipal Court located on the 4th floor of the Justice Center. It came to us, first reading was the 14th, then it went under administrative review, approved by Director of Public Safety, approved by Director of Finance. There's no objection to the Law Department. And let me see what the estimated cost is in here. Well, I'll let you folks explain the estimated cost, because I have questions on that. So, Director, who wants to carry?
To Chair, I'll
Okay.
start off, and
Okay.
then Susan can answer any questions relative that the
Okay.
body may have.
Go ahead.
As stated before, it's the ordinance number is 1114-2024, and if passed by council, would authorize Director of Public Safety to extend the existing lease with the Cuyahoga County at current Cleveland Division of Police Headquarters at 1300 Ontario Street for a one-year period beginning October 2nd, 2024, with an option to renew for an additional one-year period and enter into an agreement with the Cleveland Municipal Court for reimbursement for rent for space the court occupies on the 4th floor. And again, we're here to answer any questions relative to the body needing answers.
Okay. Ms. DeGennaro, do you want to indicate anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, we noticed there's an error in the legislation, so we need to request an amendment.
What's the error?
In paragraph 1, line 5, there's a reference to 93 parking spaces. That should say 119 parking spaces, which is reflected in section 2 of the ordinance.
Assistant Law Director, are you aware of that?
I have it now, sir.
Okay. Any other changes?
No.
Okay, let's go over, break down the cost first, because I'm looking at this, and this is an incredible amount of money we're paying the county. So go over the cost.
So, okay, so the good news is, you know, we are at the same amount of square footage that we were at last year, with a strong possibility that we may be able to vacate an additional 12,094 square feet on the 7th floor. That's part of the training academy that is likely going to be able to be moved at the beginning of next year. So the difference in square footage, last year, the space that we occupy that's solely occupied by us, not the shared space, was 114,500, and that is the same this year. The reason there's an increase in the square footage to 118,217 square feet is because the county recently discovered that the courts are occupying some space in Division of Police's space.
Okay.
It's about 3,717 square feet. It was solely due to an oversight on the part of the county, and they are now asking to be paid for that space, which is why the legislation requests an agreement between Director of Public Safety and the court so that we can be reimbursed for that space. So the only, you know, it looks like the square footage went up, but it didn't. It's the same. The rate did increase from $18 a square foot to $20.50 per square foot for the space that's occupied by Division of Police. The shared space increased from $9 per square foot to $11 per square foot. The parking remains the same. We were able to negotiate the same number of spaces, which is 119 spaces on level P1 at $125 per month per space, which totals $14,875 per month. And then our utility costs, nothing really new there. We base our, it's a proportional share that we pay.
Yeah.
It's based on the actual cost for the previous year. And so it's anticipated to be about $33,000 per month.
Okay. We sold, the city of Cleveland sold our portion of the building to the county for $9.25 million in 17, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How much have we paid them in rent to date?
Approximately $12 million.
This was a terrible deal.
Understood. I understand your concern, Mr. Chairman, but, looking forward, I mean, unfortunately, it's, we were in sort of a planning phase, right? Division of Police has got to be housed. The space really works for them. The good news is we're very close to being completed on the new police headquarters. It's a state-of-the-art facility. Unfortunately, we kind of have to stick it out here in this space, and the county did negotiate an increase in rent when we entered into the sale leaseback. So, unfortunately, we're bearing the consequences of that. But the good news is, we're close to being able to be out of this space and moved into the new space.
Okay, so we're going to be out, you think we'll be out by when?
So anticipated to be the end of the year 2026. So we've got another year. So from October 2nd, 2020, October 2nd, 2024 is the actual lease term, to 2025, we'll renew for a year. Then we've got the option to renew for an additional year. In the past, there have been years where the county has not raised our rent, even though they had the option to do that based on the deal we negotiated. They didn't increase the rent for 1 year. I believe it was the third amendment. So, it's very possible we may be able to negotiate the same rate for the last year, and hopefully at that point we'll be able to be out, and that'll be it.
So this legislation is before us runs from when to when?
October 2nd, 2024 to October 1st, 2025.
So there's a possibility, as you're telling us, we're going to pay another year on top of that.
Yes. Just based on the fact that, and we knew going in, it's a big project, the new police headquarters, but
I know, but we got hosed on this deal. We got the upper and the lower rater hose on this one. I mean, the county, I like our friends at the county. Every time they get a chance to whack us, they do. And I don't get it for the life of me. So what happens, explain to me, what happened, we relocate over to our Division of Police out of the Justice Center. What happens to the Clerk of Courts?
they are anticipating vacating that space. It's just a small area that they use for like an IT closet. It's an IT related.
Okay.
So they'll be able to move out of there. But in the meantime, because of the oversight, they've agreed in good faith to reimburse us for that space.
To the chair also, the vast majority of clerks is actually in Tower 1. That we're talking about Tower 2, have a very small operation in actual Tower 2, which is police headquarters.
I'm going to ask, you can get this figure for us. What are we paying to the county now for the lease of municipal court, and for the clerk's office?
Do you mean for Tower 1?
Or whatever.
I did not bring that information with me.
Well, I know, because we didn't request. Well, what I'm saying, because this does not even include the courts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, our friends across, I want to say across Lakeside Avenue, that's not the case anymore. Our friends up at the end of 9th Street, man, I don't get it. I don't get this one. It seems, thinks they would be a partner with us and cooperative with us, but man, this is $208,000 per month.
Correct. That's the amount for the rent, including the shared space.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, questions of the committee? Questions of the committee? Every time I look at this, I think it had that commercial for, I don't know, Burger King, cha-ching. That's what I'm thinking about here. Every time I look at this, cha-ching. Councilman Slife, you had a question.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, when the new headquarters is complete, is our intent to fully vacate Tower 2? Or will there be portions of Tower 2 that remain for the city of Cleveland?
Through the chair to Councilman Slife, yes, we will vacate the entirety of Tower 2.
Okay. So one, I maintain a concern that the space given for the police museum at the new facility is undersized, especially relative to their need to store archives. So I feel like that's still unresolved. I don't know if there's a response to that. But then in addition to that, and maybe it sounded like I'm trying to tell a joke, but like within the structure of the lease, I know we're in charge for custodial and things. Is there like, are we going to get our security deposit back? Like, the lease ending, are there going to be expenses to the city of Cleveland as we vacate Tower 2 that the county's going to put on us for like normal wear and tear, their assumption of the space? Are there kind of some unanticipated costs just simply from moving from one location to the other?
Through the chair to Councilman Slife, I'm not aware that I don't believe there's a security deposit.
No, I'm using that as like a joke, but
Okay. But yes.
are they
I-
going to take the building from us basically as is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilman Slade? Any more?
It looked like the chief may have.
Yeah, to the
quick
chair,
response.
Councilman, through the chair of the Councilman Slife, I know you mentioned about the museum, Cleveland Museum, and the space. I know primarily Division of Police and MOCAP, I know they tried diligently to help the museum. I know they have requirements or needs relative to storage. You're absolutely right. We worked with them, continue to work with them. The space is set right now. I just don't want to say something that's not true. The space is set right now, but we're still going to try to work with them to help them out relative to their storage needs.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions of the committee? Any additional questions on this wonderful deal? Who represent? Wait a minute. I know we're going to do that. Who represented the county? Were they wearing a mask in a meeting?
Mr. Chairman, the county or the
Yeah, the
city?
county.
Who represented the county?
Yeah.
I believe they represented themselves.
There was no specific person representing the county in this negotiation?
I'm not aware that there was a broker or anything involved. I believe, and I don't know, unfortunately, because I wasn't around at the time, I don't know who the players were.
They must have had a nickname, Jesse James or something or other here, because this is incredible what we got ourselves into here. Okay. There has been, there's a change as it pertains to, Law Director, would you state the amendment?
In motion to amend the ordinance, paragraph 1, line 5, to delete 93 and make it into 119.
Would someone make a motion to that?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment is approved as stated by the Assistant Law Director. Okay, without objection, as amended to this glorious piece here, I can't wait to, I would say this, Director, we got to get out of that Justice Center as fast as we can.
To the chair, we're in full agreement with you. I have my notes here that we should be taking possession of the new police headquarters the second quarter of 2026.
Okay, because these guys they're hosing us. Okay, without objection, as amended, ordinance number 1114-2024 is approved as read. Please sign it up. Okay. Please sign it up. Okay, the next one here. Ordinance 1115-2024 by Council Members Polensek and Griffin by Department requests an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for fiscal year 24 Recovery Ohio LE program to provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force. First time read October 14th. Went through administrative review. It's been approved by Director of Public Safety, approved by Director of Finance. There's no legal objection. Director and your team.
Yes, Chair. This ordinance, which is number 1115-2024, if passed by council, would authorize the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant of $65,000 from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 2024 Recovery Ohio Law Enforcement Program Grant. This legislation will provide funding for the operation of the cartel gang narcotics laundering task force signal in the amount of $65,000. Its expenses to be reimbursed of personnel is for $35,051.15, and that's for police overtime. Equipment, $9,145. That's surveillance equipment. Supplies, $3,500, which is all supplies.
Yes.
Narcan safe kits, as you guys can see,
Yeah.
and other costs, which is about $3,160, which is for vehicle maintenance, cell data plan, and confidential funds, which is $14,143.85. It says for buy-down surveillance costs, for a grand total of $65,000. There is no local match.
Okay, those are the ones we like, no local match. Do we have any statistics pertaining to this as to what the outcome has been in the past?
To the chair, absolutely, and that's why we have our team here at the table. And
Okay.
they'll provide the information for you.
Okay, what do we have? Whoever wants to start.
To the chair, we have statistics.
Identify yourself again.
Sergeant Mike McNeely,
Okay,
CPD
Sergeant.
Narcotics.
Good.
To the chair, we have stats collected from October 23 to 2024.
Okay.
So we're almost at a year point. We have search warrants. We have 80 search warrants, 45 indictments, arrests, fentanyl pill seizures, 21,000, fentanyl powder, 154 pounds.
154 pounds?
Yes, sir. Recently, we had a very large
Yeah,
seizure
yeah, yeah.
of over 600,000 fentanyl pills. We were unable to count them, so we just did the weight because the medical examiner's off. The county lab wasn't able to count them, so.
That's enough to kill everybody in Ohio, correct?
It was a lot, sir. The, one of the interesting numbers that we came up with, too, comparing stats to last year and this
Yeah.
year for overdoses, is we're down 47%. Through October 23 last year, we had 281 fatal overdoses in Cleveland. And as we sit right now, we're at 147.
That's encouraging.
It's the first time probably since 2015 that we've been under 200
That's encouraging.
fatal overdoses.
Okay, keep going.
I believe a lot of this is attributed to large seizures that the task forces are working with the local
Okay.
PDs, and also there's more of an outreach element now to our task force and to the CPD narcotics unit, where we get involved with these fentanyl test strips, and that's what these funds are for. Narcan
Okay.
safe use kits. We're able to go out into the community,
Okay.
get involved more of an outreach element rather than just law enforcement.
Okay. Okay, Sergeant, I'm going to ask, again, for through the director, you're going to provide that to us so we can have that in our file here. Deputy Chief Pillow, you have any comment at all?
To the council, no, I don't, sir.
Okay.
Sergeant McNeil is
Okay.
represented very well, thank you.
Okay. Director, you want any additional comment?
No, sir.
Okay, members of the committee, questions, comments? Any questions of the committee? We need to have this. It's not costing us anything. We're getting $65,000. That's what we would like. We'd like them all like that. Okay, without objection, ordinance number 1115-2024 is approved as read. Please sign it up. As I indicated earlier to those who are in other committees, we're allotting everybody 10 minutes, and then we are going to break somewhere between 12 and 12:30, because we all know what we went through last week from 10 to 4. So it was not fair for the administration or the members here who need to return phone calls and check emails. So I'll give everybody fair warning when we're going to break. Ordinance number 1116-2024 by council members Polensek and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for fiscal year 2024 State Burn Memorial Service Assistant Grant to provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force and authorizing agreements with various entities to implement the grant. First reading was October 4th, went through administrative review, approved by Director of Public Safety, approved by Director of Finance. There is no legal objection. Let me see what we got here. Anything else here? Grant amount is $150,000. Director.
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 1116-2024, if passed by council, would authorize me, the Director of Public Safety, to apply for and accept $150,000 grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for fiscal year 2024 State Burn Memorial Grant. This legislation will provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force Signal. The purpose of the grant, the goal of the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services Justice Assistant Grant is to provide funding to law enforcement agencies for operating multi-agency task forces. The City of Cleveland will be reimbursed for costs associated with operating the divisions of police Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force Signal, formerly known as the Northern Ohio Law Enforcement Task Force. The Signal is a multi-agency drug task force that brings together state, federal, and local agents and investigators to ensure that the most sophisticated investigation and prosecution resources are directed against organized drug trafficking groups. The expenses to be reimbursed, personnel, $30,000, again, that's for police overtime. Contracts, $30,000, police officer overtime for partner agencies. Equipment, $37,000. Undercover police vehicle, supplies, $500, office supplies. Other costs, $5,000, vehicle maintenance, cell phone data plans. Confidential funds, $47,500, by money surveillance costs. For a grand total of $150,000. We have received this grant annually since 2005, and there's no local match.
Again, those are the ones we like. Sergeant, Deputy Chief.
To the chair, this grant is similar in nature to the last one.
Yes.
However, this one does not focus on outreach. It's more of an investigative element.
Yes.
And then obviously, the vehicle as well is included in this, the undercover vehicle.
Okay. Question. We have seen in other parts of the country more organized gang activity, and now we've seen the arise and observation of gangs out of South America, like out of Venezuela. Have we seen anything like that in the greater Cleveland area?
To the chair, not that specific gang.
Okay. Have we seen any increase in gang activity?
To the chair, there's, I would say there's an increased number in sophisticated drug trafficking organizations operating in Cleveland now.
So you say more sophisticated. I mean, tied to well-known groups. I don't want you to mention names, but give us some oversight.
A lot of our to the chair, a lot of our investigations stem from local dealers, and then we
Yes.
follow the distribution networks out of the Northern District of Ohio,
Yeah.
and numerous times they involve Mexican cartels,
Mexican cartel.
but not specifically here in Cleveland at the moment.
Okay. Do you have any figures? You mentioned in the previous legislation the amount of drugs that you've confiscated. Is there a dollar amount associated with that has been confiscated with the last piece and now this piece from a standpoint of actual dollars confiscated?
To the chair, yes, we have so far to date through 23, $658,000, and I believe it's actually close to 700,000 because there was a recent
Now,
seizure.
is that for us, or we have to split that with other agencies?
To the chair, it's a split, yes.
Split, so we know what our cut is out of that?
I do not, Chair. To
Okay.
the chair, I can get those numbers
Yeah,
for
if you could provide that too, so I'd like to know. These grants and for the viewing public, this is very important because we've got to keep a lid on what we're seeing. And I guess I want to say this, I want to knock on wood here. I think we're very fortunate here in Cleveland that we've been able to stay on top of it for a good part in light of what we're seeing in other parts of the country. So I commend all the officers and the approach that's been taken here because it is, it's time consuming, it's costly. I think we all know that a great deal of our law enforcement funds that we set aside for law enforcement are directed against narcotics and gang activity. That's the reality we're confronted with, and violence as well. So, questions of the committee, of the director, anyone from the administration? Any questions of the committee? Okay. Without objection, ordinance number 1116-2024 is approved as read. Please sign it up, and I thank you, and you'll provide that information to us. Thank you, Sergeant. Deputy Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, before the chief, the director leaves, as of today, how many officers are on the force?
Through the chair, I'll have to get that number. I
Okay,
don't have it right in front of me. I'll get that to you.
Number of officers that have
Yes, sir.
left, officers on the force, I believe it was, what, 73 in total in the academy?
To the chair, that's correct. And our
Okay.
numbers are still consistent from the last time
Okay.
we're here relative to how many folks have
Okay.
departed.
And you have a graduation as of when?
Next month. That's November 22nd. we're
November
graduating.
22nd, that would be what, 30?
Is that 40? I think it's, I don't have the exact number.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But yeah, it's
Okay.
going to be over 30 officers out of that particular
And I want to make
academy
sure that
class.
the members are notified of that graduation.
We'll make formal
Okay.
notification, but it's November 22nd. But
November
we'll get that out.
22nd?
Yes, sir.
That's what, those are the days I like when we're bringing people on, so, okay, thank you, Chief. Excuse me, Director, Deputy Chief, everyone here. Okay, we're going to revert back to the operational reviews. Community Relations Board, CRB, is up next. Next batter up. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Good to see you, Director. Introduce yourself and your team to the viewing public here.
To the chair and to the committee, good morning. I'm Angela Shute-Woodson. That's actually not our presentation yet.
Okay.
The Executive Director to the Community Relations Board.
Okay.
I've brought to the table Tammy Hanna, who is our district rep manager. In addition, next to her is Sharice Dawson, manager of youth diversion.
Okay.
Next to me, I'm proud to introduce Leticia Maldonado, who's our fiscal grants manager. And behind me is Jackie Simmons, our street outreach manager.
Okay. Continue.
You can go to the first slide. So, as most of you know at this table and the general public, that the Community Relations Board next year will be 80 years old. It is a legislative department. It's under Ordinance 233-50. We're basically mandated to promote understanding and cooperation among racial, cultural, diverse groups within the community to elevate inequalities, prejudice, and other sources of intergroup conflict. Here is just a quick department overview. Of course, we have our 5 district reps that cover the 5 police department areas to improve relations with police, to promoting services and helping neighborhoods build good interactions through training, we do trainings, neighborhood meetings, safety fairs, community builders, block and street club development, and court watch. And if needed, CRB does mediate a lot of times residents when they have arguments to try to prevent them to go to the police, as well as try not to go to housing court. Then we also have our cultural liaisons, which we have 3. We have an Asian liaison, a Hispanic liaison, and a faith liaison. And their role is to basically interact with those constituents groups and also making sure that any services that the city has, any new marketing materials, that is translated, as well as bringing understanding to those services and any type of new programming rollouts, in addition to recognizing cultural and heritage events throughout the different cultures. And then, of course, the last 2, youth diversion and street outreach. Youth diversion, as we've been to the table before, that's through our grant with Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court. It's been in existence since 1999. And then, of course, they do the wraparound with families. These are low-level offenses where they have youth that they work with the families to make sure to get them on the right track.
Okay.
And then with street outreach, as you know, and this is always a conversation when I come to this table, these young men and women do work in CMSD schools. We are actually in majority of the CMSD, not just high schools, but this year we adopted K-8 schools, as well as monitoring and doing any type of violent interruptions.
Yes.
And again, they're in the rec centers and as well as in the streets.
Okay.
And that's our organizational chart. What's in gray are the positions that we are hoping to fill, if not by the close of this year, definitely at the first of the year. I am pretty much full of staff. Of course, we could always use more help, as we talk a lot at this table about the street outreach team and the work that they do. So our priorities of the division, of course, is community engagement, quality of life, providing information and knowledge of the city services to build safer blocks. We did a community builders convening this summer in June. We had over 200 residents come and attend both east, west, and downtown area. From the feedback that we got from those that attended, they want us to kind of do more of this building together. We conducted 5 different workshops, anywhere from knowing how to build your street club to cultural understanding. And I thank a lot of the council people for the feedback that you've given me about your wards becoming very diverse, and you need for residents who are longtime residents there to have better understanding of the different cultures that are starting to move into your area. And we put a lot of highlight on that, and we're going to try to build on that again in 2025. The other thing is our youth court, safe streets, safe schools. As I just stated, we grew through K through 8. I did have a meeting with the state of Ohio, Director of DYS, Director Ash. She is very excited to be still engaged with our office, and as well as we were talking how to build our youth diversion program to be even more. We feel like statistics is starting to show if we can address low-level offenses and first-time offenses early on, that prevents the growing and the ongoing redundancy of trying to get in deeper trouble with a lot of our youth. So we're hoping to explore that more in 2025, as well as we've met with Director Drummond to even talk about the police force with Sharice Dawson, Manager Dawson, to explore how do we, when they get youth in front of the police, that they can get referred to youth diversion through her first before beginning to get a paper trail. Also, our last priority is, of course, cultural engagement and mutual harmony. We want to build more about cultural and religious differences in the wards, and we're becoming very sensitive. We do recognize that our wards are going beyond just Spanish-speaking and Asian Mandarin-speaking residents. We are now starting to inquire a lot of French-speaking residents, as well as Swahili-speaking residents, and we're trying to develop and explore how do we build and roll out more interpretation for those residents to have better understanding of city services, and also understanding your wards and attending your community meetings and other community meetings more. And the last slide is basically our head count is 23. Our full-time head count present as of September 30th is 19, and those are the 3 vacancies that I have posted. In your folders also, I know I'm always asked about reporting, so because we know we had a short window with this presentation, we made sure that we put the reporting in the pocket so that you would have some from, as well as our consultant contracts that we have with the Safe Streets, to our youth diversion numbers, as well as some information on the reps numbers. And happy to answer any questions.
Okay, touch on your budget. Are you in line with, at this point, with what we allocated for you when we passed the budget in April?
To the chair, yes, we're in line with our budget. I'm going to also turn it over to Ms. Maldonado, because we are asking to increase, it's a small bump, but it's a bump that we actually need.
Ms. Maldonado?
To the chair, this year we are asking for $20,000 increase for personnel.
So you'll be presenting that for the upcoming budget, the increase, $20,000, okay.
And then also for training, we're asking for an increase of from 15. Well, presently, we have 15, and then we're asking for 40. And then contractual services it's a total of about $50,000 of increase for contractual services.
Okay. With regard to your open contracts, let me look at this. I have icons, I have, if I mispronounce the name, please excuse me, Jihad Shakur, Union Miles Development Corporation. I have Mental Health Services, Homeless Persons Incorporated, Cornerstone of Hope Incorporated, Project Lift Behavioral Health Services. So on the mental health services, you're at 98% expended so far. And that's correct?
I don't know what you're looking at.
Human Relations Board, open contracts.
So our present open contracts are Icons, Children at Play, Ohio Guidestone, Mount Olive, and 10 Points. And then what our grant is Project Lift.
Okay, see, so here, take a look at this quickly.
Yeah, I was
This is
going to
what we
explain to the chair, to the committee. So probably what you're being presented is, we just only have, she has our general fund contracts. We do
Right.
have a state contract.
Okay.
So like, for instance, Project Lift is getting paid, even though it looks like it's coming out of our general fund. It's actually through our grant dollars that we get from the state of Ohio
Okay.
and the Ohio Department of Criminal Justice.
So then, how do we get a list of that group?
I could send you that.
To the chair, to the committee, we'll be
Okay.
happy to break that down and
Okay.
and get that back to this committee
Okay.
and to you.
So I'm just looking at the, mental health services, Cornerstone of Hope. Now, let's say, Icons, Shakur, Union Miles, Cornerstone, all these groups, are these working citywide or specific neighborhoods?
To the chair, as far as Icons and Mrs. Shakur, which should be on, unfortunately, should be on your list as Children at Play, because that's who the
So
contract's
that's
for,
Children at
correct?
Play right now.
That's Children at Play. So Icons covers the northwest side, doing street outreach for us and also working K through 8 schools on the northeast side. And as far as Mr. Secure and his organization, Children at Play, they work on the west side. They are helping us a lot with the high schools in K through 8 on the west side. So they have all of the wards on the west side. The other contractor that is not listed, but I was at the table for last
Yes.
week, and we just finalized their contract, is 10 Points. Which is their fiscal agent is the President's Foundation. And also in your packet, we did put the list of the organizations, wards, and contact information of all those individuals.
So Icons is working what area again?
They're working the Northeast, so they're working wards 8, 9, 10,
Okay.
and part of 7.
8, 9, 10, and part of 7.
Yes, that's under Hank Davis.
Okay. One of the areas that has concerned me greatly is the street outreach specialist team. How many do we have at present working?
At the present time, if you include the manager, we have 6.
6 citywide.
6 citywide.
Okay. I'm going to state again, for the record, that's not sufficient. That's not sufficient, in my opinion, to deal, and they're assigned to a police district.
They're assigned to police district, that's correct.
So you have 6 people assigned to the 5 police districts.
Correct.
Okay, so there's 2 assigned then. What district gets 2?
Basic, to the chair and to the committee, the person is a floater, so it shifts.
Okay.
So for instance, we had a situation that was happening at John Marshall.
Yes.
And if you know John Marshall High School and the number of students that it has, it required us to take that person and go over there to assist
Okay.
the assigned street outreach person.
Okay. So your street outreach people, they work with these outside groups. Do they coordinate with them? See, I'm trying to figure out, or we're doing our own thing and these groups are doing their own thing. How do we interact? How do we
Sure. To the chair and
engage?
to the committee, we do work together. We have monthly meetings. We just had one yesterday. And we do sit at the table as well with Chief Dotson of CMSD Schools to make sure we are in coordination as far as school and actual street work, street observation. And again, so we're clear on the street work that they do. They're looking at the hot spots. These are hot spots that you all as council people ever told us.
Right.
Where there's been a lot of loitering, which could be a convenience store, which could be a parking lot, which could be a plaza, which could be a gas station. And also, we utilize the police department's shot spotter data as well as noting some of these locations. So we do coordinate with our outside help that's contract under us and with the street outreach person in that area.
Okay. So besides the 7, because you have a supervisor, correct? You have 6 working in districts.
To the chair, to the committee, actually,
Okay.
it's 5, and the manager himself is the 6th person that floats.
Okay. How many outside groups, either with city funds or grant dollars, state dollars, are we funding outside groups right now?
To the chair, to the committee, I would have to look back at that. I can only speak for what's in my department and right now.
Well, that's what I'm talking, in your
Okay.
shop.
As far as my shop, I contract 3 out of the general fund, and out of the overall Ohio grant, I'm gonna have to look at Jock, because I'm not sure how many contracts we have.
To the chair, to the committee.
Yes.
Currently to date.
Pull the mic so we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Currently to date, actually executed contracts, we're working with 3.
With 3
Yes,
outside groups.
outside groups.
And that's under the
and
grant.
And who are the 3?
Project Lift,
Right.
Renounce, Denounce, and we just completed one.
Well, you can provide that to us.
I will provide that.
I'm just trying to figure out where we have funded, and my colleagues are aware, we have funded all these groups. We have funded $10 million through Cleveland Foundation. We funded PIO and all the agencies that they're contracting with, and we're going to have them up in a little while, this afternoon. And I'm trying to figure out, and I'm trying to stay on top as best as we can collectively, again, the areas that they're working in, how effective are they? Who provides the oversight? Who's measuring their successes or unsuccess rate?
To the chair and to the committee, in our shop, we do have a form evaluation that people have to turn in daily and in real time.
Okay.
We've created a QR code because we don't want them to look suspicious when they're interacting into the streets. So we ask that once they get back to their vehicle, that they scan the QR code with their cell phone and communicate back to us in real time where they were, what did they see, what was the incident, and
Yes.
so forth.
Okay.
Since we've been doing that, we have to honestly say we have not had as many incidents as we have had in the past.
Okay.
And that youth, even arrests, have went down under the age of 21.
That's encouraging. That's good to know, because you've heard we had the CPC here. They're funding 26 groups. They plan on funding 26. So we've got all these groups being funded. Are they working in separate silos? Are they engaged with one another? Are they talking to one another? I'm just trying to get a handle, because there's so many groups out here now that are being funded to do violence interruption, violence prevention, et cetera. I want to make sure that we're having the impact that we want, that the council wants to have here. We talk about this internally all the time. Is our money being well spent? Is it being directed to the right place? That's why I go back to your outreach people. I'm one of those who believe we need more outreach people. We need more people out there in the street, listening, in the schools, because everybody the officers that I engage with on a regular basis tell me all the time that where we really got to focus more what they refer to as middle schools, but that's 4 to 9th grade group. That's where we got to really focus on, because once they're in high school, as I hear so often from my dear friend Ted Ginn over at Ginn Academy, where I'm on the board, once they're in high school, it might be too late to deal with some of these situations. We gotta get it early. We gotta identify these kids early, what we can do to help them, and figure out what's going on within their life. So, okay, I'm gonna open up for questions right now. Again, everybody has 10 minutes, and when we're through with CRB, we're going to break. Okay, Councilman Starr. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Oh, man. See, I'm surprised. That's the first time I get that. So through the chair to the director, just for clarification, how many staff are you budgeted for? I mean, how many staff do you have as far as head count correctly?
To the chair and to the councilman, currently I have 19 on staff, and I'm looking to fill the vacant spots that I provided in the presentation.
And through the chair, that means you have a total budgeted for 23, so that means you have 4 vacancies, correct?
Correct.
All right. What is your actual budget dollar amount for this fiscal year right now, currently?
I'm going to refer to Ms. Maldonado, who has those figures with her.
To council, to the chair. For 2024, our overall budget is $3,159,005 for budget 2025, and this is on a low amount. It will be $3,394,423
So $3,159,000.
is our current budget.
And then right now, through the chair, what has been totally spent so far for your department?
I don't have the complete breakdown, but overall, pretty much, our budget has been pretty much exhausted. I believe we have like maybe 300,000 remaining, and some of that is in, like contracts.
Contracted now. All right.
Councilman, go ahead.
All right, through the chair, to the director, when you say department overall view, I know CRB has been around since 55? Or what year is that, to the chair?
They've been around a long time, CRB. I'm going to be a long time. Prior to me getting here, so that'll tell you it's a long time ago.
To the
Okay.
chair, to the councilman, I'll just say we turn 80 years old in March of next year.
And don't make no comments on that. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So clarification. So through the chair to the director, what are the responsibilities for CRB currently?
Director?
Currently, to the chair and to the councilman, through the years, the CRB roles have kind of changed, of course, as society has changed. We did not used to have a street outreach or youth diversion program. Now we have a youth diversion and street outreach program. And in addition to the outreach program, we also are working with those that are formerly incarcerated and returning home, whether it's from the adult prisons or from the youth prisons. So we're seeing that evolve, as well as addressing how big our cultural communities have gotten. We find ourselves now taking complaints more and more from the LGBTQA+ community, whereas they are facing people harassing them in their homes as they're living in our community. And we're trying to build, of course, better cultural understanding and sensitivity as much as possible. When the first office developed, fair housing used to be actually in the Community Relations Department, which was trying to deal with, of course, the riots and the racial tension. I'm not going to say that the racial tension doesn't still exist. It does. But I've also think it's grown and evolved and morphed into different constituent areas, because now you have immigrants, now you have refugees that have now come into our communities that we have to work with residents often to understand this is a place for everybody. And we find ourselves going a lot of times to mediate, also leaning on our partners in the different cultural spaces to help us with interpretation, so they're aware of the city services, so they know why they have a trash can. I mean, we make joke about the trash can and trash services, but oftentimes if they're new and they're from a different country, they don't understand that. And so therefore we have to explain. And so neighbors may complain if they put a bag, or they may put a box of trash, because they don't understand how the services and the rules work. And we find ourselves doing things of that nature. And so what may seem like jokes to others, it's not jokes to us. We have to be very sensitive and conscious of how our city is starting to evolve and welcome everybody into the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Councilman Starr.
Thank you. And through the chair, Director, when you mentioned the youth diversion and outreach program, do we have a time frame or a year when that program became under CRB or something was an initiative from CRB?
Director.
Through the chair.
Sure. To the chair, I'm also going to turn that over to Ms. Dawson, who manages that, but they did start in 1999, and she can expel more on it.
Through the chair to the committee, we came over to CRB in 2008.
Okay. Councilman?
Okay, make sure I got my notes. And through the point that I just want to see is, it's clear to say that I see in the PowerPoint that it says CRB's Street Outreach Specialist Team is responsible for violence interruptions, community engagement, critical incident stress, performance meditation, de-escalation, and redirection activities within the community, schools, neighborhood resource recreation centers, management, debriefing, and other overall youth outreach strategies through mentorship activities in schools and neighborhoods. The team provides youth and young adults with employment connection, training, and coordinate reentry services for returning citizens, formerly incarcerated youth and young adults. So through my just understanding of the work that CRB is doing, I believe it's time for us to really work with a violence prevention strategy with CRB, since they are doing this work and been doing this since Dean Polenzek got here. So I think overall, there's just some things that we need to do to get more alignment within our city. Because like I heard what you said, Dean, everyone is doing so much of this work, but then we look at it, we like, who is actually doing what? It's too spread around.
We're all asking that same question.
Like, who is what is what?
Yeah.
And I think we need to do some things, obviously with this new budget cycle coming up, to make it more streamlined of what it's actually doing. Like I said, it can look good, it can be pretty, but if you don't come into these neighborhoods, it's something that I just can't believe someone is doing the work when I don't see them in the neighborhood. So through the chair,
Yes.
to the director, when it comes to our recreation centers or our neighborhood recreational resource centers, how do we expect CRB to have staff in there when they don't got enough outreach workers on staff?
Director.
You get what I'm saying? That through the chair.
Well, that's my position. Director?
To the chair, to the councilman, and to the committee, it is difficult. We often talk about we're a 7-day-a-week office. We feel just as essential workers as your EMS, as your fire, and as your police. We get calls from youth when they're getting released from the facilities. Sometimes that might be 1 o'clock in the morning, and they don't have transportation to get home, even to just needing transportation to work. So this is what we face, and we're clear as we all look at each other most days. We have a saying, we all we got, but we also know within our department, we're clear what we signed up for, and we don't want to be not available to be able to assist. So we do what we can. We try to go to the rec centers as soon as we leave the schools to just monitor, and we check in with the rec staff to make sure everything's okay. If a rec staff lets us know that they need us to stay around or come, that's what we do.
Okay.
Yep, and I'll wrap up on Dean. So I did see that CRB was founded in 1945. So I'm not going to say the other part,
Don't
but you know
say
what I'm
another
thinking of. And then on top of that, I just want to say thank you, Director, and your team for, promoting the positive relationships in our community, as well as training programs, but also the work that you do with investigating and resolving conflicts within the community, but also being the first line of defense when it comes to a lot of the violence that's happening in our neighborhood. Now, I understand that it's not that much. You do the best you can with the limited resources, and I think I'm safe to say that I apologize that we haven't opened up the bank for you the way you need it to be able to support. So I look forward to working with my colleagues during this budget cycle to see what we can do to help Community Relations Board, which has been established as a department since 1945. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Starr. Councilman Slife, and then Gray, and then we will break. Thank you.
Thank you. Just going back, you had mentioned there's the 3 external contracts for the violence interrupters that work with the 6 city staff. And then In addition to that, I believe that there are a number of organizations that may not receive direct city funding, but maybe indirect city funding through like the Cleveland Foundation or others. That's sort of a elevator speech of the ecosystem, right?
To the chair, to the committee, or, so yeah, through our ARPA grant funds, we presently contracted with 3. And then we have additional contracts that we will be putting out. So they're in law right now. So, and then also to address our groups that we do work with, they cross-train, some for CVI, some for mental health.
Okay.
And so the collaboration is there.
Thank you. Are you able to kind of speak to, are the contracts pretty similar, or is it sort of like a form contract given by law, and you got to obviously change information to make it speak to each one, but are there substantial differences, or are they kind of, what percentage are they alike, it looks like?
To the chair, to the councilman, I'm also going to let Jacques weigh in. So the contracts are all different. Again, the whole part when we applied for this grant was focusing on the number of youth, because I know at the table at one time I shared we occupied 73% of the DYS system. And we were trying to make sure youth coming back actually had the services they need to be successful reacclimating back into the community. So some of these contracts are with behavioral health organizations to make sure we're still addressing any type of mental health that while they were serving their time, that we're aware of, to make sure they're taking their meds, make sure they're seeing someone for counseling. In addition, just might be dealing with emotional issues, just anger, which we're finding is more and more they're coming out angry. But also, and I'll let Jacques speak about the other ones as well that we have, we also were looking at different opportunities to learn a trade. And I know I talked with Councilman Kelly a lot about that, and he doesn't know yet, but I'm going to be looking at him more, I hope, next year to help some of these young men and women find a specialty so they won't feel like they have to go back on the streets and just loiter, that they're actually preoccupied with something of interest. And I'll let Jacques speak to that.
So identify yourself for the viewing
Good
public.
morning. Jacques Simmons, Office of Community Relations.
Okay.
Administrative Manager. And
You gotta
answering.
talk louder now. Come
Oh,
on.
sorry. To the chair, to Councilman Sly. So our professional services contracts are 3 from the general fund, which are icons, children edutainment, and 10 points. Under our grant dollars, we have recently partnered with Renounce Denounce, who is up under contract. Project Lift has always been under contract. When we accepted the grant, when council allowed us to accept the grant award from the state of Ohio, they were already in that grant as a co-director and co-writer of the grant. So they're a part of that contract. And we have one more that was just updated, but I would have to speak with law to, remember which one that was updated.
We'll make that record. You'll provide all those to us
Sure,
in
we'll
a
be
dollar
happy to
amount.
put
But
to
we
the-
also, within those contracts, as you stated, knowing what each of these groups are doing, we are monitoring these groups. We are receiving real-time data from these groups. And as soon as we can get the other group that is contract through the state grant, they will be following that same tracking and measurable documentation. Our goal is to put people on the street like you spoke to us about a year and a half ago. And we've been working diligently to get that done by recruiting these groups and bringing them in under the CRB umbrella.
Councilman?
Thank you. And so we obviously approve the funding, but we don't negotiate the contracts. But my hope is that, and if it's possible to make a request to maybe just receive a copy of some of the executed contracts, just to understand what they are, because what the area of interest I have is within the consent decree, we are required under the community, the CPOP, we outlaw acronyms if someone could do that. we are required to, have a ongoing relationship where police officers are working with community partners around specific things, and I see that this violence interruption network that we have really seems to meet the spirit of that. But I'm wondering to what degree we are ensuring that people receiving city funds are also communicating back, not just with CRB, but with the Cleveland Division of Police, so that we're able to demonstrate to the federal monitor that we have this robust ecosystem and not give the appearance that we have these sort of two parallel things happening. We have a division of police that's trying to engage with community partners, and then theoretically we could have violence interrupters doing really good work, but maybe not communicating with the police as much as we like. And look, there's going to be some organizations out there that may not want to have a working professional relationship with the police, and God love them. They can do whatever they want, but I'm not confident they should receive city money if that's the case. But again, just since we approve the funding, but we don't negotiate the contract, I am admitting my own ignorance as to how we've defined that relationship, and seeing those contracts might help us understand if there's an opportunity or a need to be a little more prescriptive about that, just because I would like for us to get recognition for doing good work if we're doing good work.
Okay.
So.
And to the chair and to the councilman, we'll make sure that you get a one-pager of all the contracts
Yeah,
that
that
we
would be
have and
good.
how that works,
That'd be good.
and let you know who are the point people as well. We'll be happy to get that back to you. And also, we are working with Dr. Anderson and her team, who has presented to us, because you are correct. There is a lot of parallels. We do a good job of meeting, but I don't know if we're always good at telling that story and painting the picture to see that, in fact, we are more in tune and not working in silos as the assumptions are being made.
Thank you. Councilman?
I'm good.
Thank you. Councilman Gray, and then we're going to break.
All right, thank you, Chair. I just want to just sum it up with CRB, who works very closely in Ward 4. I'm much appreciative of the work that they have done in Ward 4, all across Ward 4, not in a specific area, but all across. So I just wanted to say they are a community. I see their interrupters at the safety meetings, at my community meetings, throughout the neighborhood, engaging with residents who have no idea of their representation, just out there communicating with residents, just keeping their eyes and ears to the ground. So I just want to say that's how much the vision that I like seeing, per se, saying earlier, when I stated the other citywide organizations is not foreseen. If they are doing anything, they need to actually start partnering up with CRB so we can have a more vast of soldiers out in the community, because we have a lot going on, and that's what my intention of partnering up with other organizations because of what's going on. But I just want to say much appreciative to CRB and all the work that you have been doing across citywide and not only in Ward 4.
Thank you, Council Eddie Gray. We will adjourn until 1:45, and we will resume and the Police Accountability Team. Thank you, Director, and those of you who are your staff that is here with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And provide that information to us. Thank you.